The film begins with two students, Min-so and Hun-chol, who are having a tough time. At that time, they get into a fight, and Min-so ends up losing pretty badly. Meanwhile, another student named Jin-mund is practicing boxing. On the other hand, Min-so, who can't accept his defeat to Hun-chol, meets Jin-mund at school and asks him to teach him boxing. Even though Min-so begs, Jin-mund refuses to teach him. At the same time, Hun-chol challenges another student named Junkie to see who's the strongest in their class. Junkie accepts the challenge because he wants to prove himself. But Junkie's friends remind him that Hun-chol is really good at martial arts, so Junkie needs to be careful. On the other hand, Hun-chol is hanging out with two of his friends named Tae-hun and Moon-hak. They realize that Moon-hak hasn't had any romantic experiences yet, so Tong asks Tae-hun to help Moon-hak meet a girl. After school, Hun-chol and Junkie start fighting. At that time, Jin-mund happens to walk by and sees them fighting by accident. But the fight has to stop because the police show up. Afterward, Hun-chol and his friends are at a cafe with two girls named Bora and Nin-yeol. While Tae-hun is flirting with Bora, Hun-chol is also flirting with Nin-yeol. The next day, Tae-hun told Hun-chol that he recorded Jin-mund winning a fight against two other students. Hun-chol then gathers his friends to challenge Jin-mund, who was sitting on the stairs. However, Jin-mund doesn't want any trouble, so he ignores the challenge. Surprisingly, instead of feeling relieved, Hun-chol feels challenged by Jin-mund's calm attitude, which he sees as manly. After school, Min-so joins the boxing gym where Jin-mund trains. This forces Jin-mund to teach Min-so to avoid getting in trouble with the gym. Meanwhile, Moon-hak gets into an argument with a student named Yokyong because he feels lied to. He gets so upset that he's rude to Yokyong. Luckily, Jin-mund, who just returned from the gym, sees what's happening and teaches Moon-hak a lesson, impressing Yokyong. Long story short, Jin-mund and Min-so resumed practicing boxing together. During their practice, he asked Jin-mund to teach him boxing properly. He also knew that Jin-mund liked Yokyong, so he promised to help Jin-mund with Yokyong. Eventually, Jin-mund agreed to that offer. Later, when Jin-mund came home, Yokyong was waiting for him. But Jin-mund was nervous and ignored her. Seeing this, Min-so quickly stopped Jin-mund and gave him advice on how to talk to a girl. The next day at school, everyone was excited because there was a competition going on. The prize for beating Jin-mund was 1.5 million won. Because of this, Min-so warned Jin-mund to be careful around other students, especially Hun-chol, who really wants to be the strongest in their class. There, Min-so also advised Jin-mund to smile when he sees Yokyong. Unfortunately, Jin-mund had never been on a date before, so his first date with Yokyong didn't go well because his smile looked awkward. After the date, Jin-mund told Min-so that Yokyong thought he was acting strange. Luckily, Yokyong still wanted to go on another date with Jin-mund, showing that she was still interested. Because of this, Min-so advised Jin-mund to confess his feelings to Yokyong on their second date. Then, as Jin-mund was heading home, he was suddenly challenged by Tae-hun, who was eager to win the competition. Sadly, Tae-hun quickly lost because Jin-mund was really strong. Afterwards, Tae-hun met Hun-chol and told him about Jin-mund's strength. Upon hearing this, Hun-chol hurried to Junkie and urged him to fight Jin-mund as soon as possible. Since their last encounter, Junkie had already accepted defeat. If Junkie managed to beat Jin-mund, he would become the top student in their class. However, Junkie's friends were concerned, so they volunteered to take on the challenge instead. When Jin-mund got home from school, he wanted to practice boxing, but two of Junkie's friends blocked him. Even though he had to fight both of them, Jin-mund still won the fight. Sadly, he hurt his ribs during the fight. But Jin-mund didn't want to miss training, so he still went to the boxing gym to support Min-so, who was training to get revenge on Hun-chol. After practice, Jin-mund went on another date with Yokyong. Surprisingly, she gave him a gift. When he got home from the date, Jin-mund planned to confess his feelings to Yokyong. But he got too nervous and ended up not saying anything. Meanwhile, Moonhack was with Nunu, wanting to confess his love for her. But his plan was interrupted when Tae-hun suddenly showed up. Unexpectedly, a love triangle drama unfolded between them. On the other hand, Jung-kyo is seeking revenge because his friends were beaten up by Jin-mund. Long story short, Jung-kyo unexpectedly wins against Jin-mund because Jin-mund looked injured. Then Moonhack and Tae-hun quickly tell Hun-chol that Jung-kyo is now the top student in their class. But Hun-chol seems unhappy and suspicious because he knows Jin-mund wouldn't lose unless he was seriously hurt. When Jin-mund comes home from school, he and Yukyung go on another date. At that time, Yukyung looks worried when she sees his injuries. Feeling concerned, he realizes that Yukyung cares about him. Finally, Jin-mund gathers the courage to confess his love to her. Luckily, she accepts his feelings, and they start dating. On the other hand, Tae-hun decides to tell Nunu that he likes her. Sadly, she rejects him because she actually likes Moonhack. The next day, Jung-kyo's friends tell him that Hun-chol found out about their plan at school. Surprisingly, Jung-kyo and Jin-mund secretly plan to convince Hun-chol to stop causing any more trouble. In fact, Jin-mund pretends to lose a fight to Jung-kyo and his friends on purpose. Because of this, Hun-chol calls Jung-kyo and scolds him for being deceitful. The next day, Hun-chol finally challenges Jin-mund to a fight to see who's the strongest. But Min-so still has a grudge to settle with Hun-chol, so he's the one who challenges him instead. Sadly, Min-so loses to Hun-chol again. After the fight, Min-so and Jin-mund go to the training ground. Min-so is really upset because he lost to Hun-chol once more. Eventually, Min-so opens up to Jin-mund and tells him why he holds such a big grudge against Hun-chol. It turns out Min-so used to have a girlfriend named Yu-yun, but one day Yu-yun changed and wanted to sleep with Hun-chol at a hotel. After that, Yu-yun became a different person, enjoying being with Hun-chol. She ended things with Min-so and chose Hun-chol instead because she thought Min-so was too boring. So now, Min-so asks Jin-mund to help him get revenge by beating Hun-chol in a fight. Soon after, Jin-mund received an urgent call from Moonhack, saying that Yukyung's safety was at risk. Without hesitation, Jin-mund rushed to the location. When he arrived, Jin-mund quickly dealt with Tae-hun and Moonhack. Then, he faced Hun-chol. At first, Jin-mund tried to avoid a fight and asked Yukyung to leave, but she refused and revealed her evil plans with Hun-chol. Shockingly, Yukyung was actually Yu-yun, Min-so's ex-girlfriend. Turns out, Yu-yun and Hun-chol had planned everything just to fight Jin-mund. Heartbroken, Jin-mund challenged Hun-chol to a fight to avenge Min-so. Shortly after, a fierce battle happened, and Jin-mund won. In the end, Hun-chol was expelled from school because of the fight. However, Jin-mund and Min-so became good friends. The film ends. The moral lesson from this film is never trust a girl who changes personalities faster than a chameleon at a disco.